people were talking about the idea that the political parties and the division in our country and all that sort of thing are the reason the world's going to hell. The idea that this many people like Dr. Pepper is actually the reason, that is atrocious. That's the worst drink out there.
Summer loving had me a blast. Summer loving happened so fast. I met a Kirby crazy for me. That's how we're going to start off episode number 205 of the Promo UPFront podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, let's call him the founder of the Friday Hours. That's the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby, how the hell are you?
You know what? I'm great. Great rendition of that. And the reason I'm great, I think, is that this might be the first time I get Amy to listen to the podcast because she's such a huge fan of Grease, much bigger fan of Grease than she is of me. And so she could listen to that and get fired up just like me, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, I just getting ready for, we'll talk about, I think, over the next couple of weeks, just things that are going on, but it's been very busy, which I like. It looks like we're finally in shape for a decent weekend here in Franklin, Tennessee. You know, it's going to be one of those weekends where you wake up and go, gosh, wow, what a beautiful day. And as I was thinking about that, got me to thinking about something else, as things often do. Now, Kirby, are you looking for completely kick-ass merchandise? Now, that's a rhetorical question. Don't even bother answering. You know what I'm talking about. The type of merchandise that elicits that wow and aha moments we love from clients. Again, you don't even have to answer. It was rhetorical. I know you're going to answer in the affirmative. Well, Kirby, look no further than our pals over at 7 Sourcing, because they're experts in the field. They work with distributors to help them source custom orders direct from fully vetted overseas factories, and that's without having to deal with the factories themselves. 7 Sourcing has a very strong pedigree when it comes to navigating direct custom merch sourcing, as their team has over a quarter century of successful importing experience. Now, even better, Kirby, they work directly with each distributor on brand strategy, product development, product sourcing, order management, quality control, compliance, that's a big one, and logistics. In other words, they completely demystify direct custom sourcing. And while they source merchandise at the lowest possible cost, Kirby, they're never going to sacrifice quality or safety to meet price points. 7 Sourcing isn't interested in meeting expectations. They only strive to exceed them, and that's what Russ Mogel and his team do. Now, Kirby, this is a tremendous opportunity for our distributor friends to wow their clients with fully custom merchandise, isn't it?
Totally is. And I think that the reality of it is we have a great industry with a lot of amazing suppliers who do the things like we've talked about, the low-hanging fruit. They knock it out. You know, they do it over and over again. But that's what everybody does, right? Like, and I think what Russ and his team do things that not everybody else does. And it obviously allows them to stand out, but it allows distributors to stand out. And that's what the goal is, right?
Right. No, 100%. I couldn't agree more, Kirby. Yeah, of course it takes a little bit longer. The average order is about 75 days. But isn't that extra planning worth it to get that wow moment? We sure as heck think so. So when you're ready to turn your next idea into something, I don't know, something that can become an iconic brand, reach out to 7 Sourcing at sales@7sourcing.com. All right, Kirby, I have the honor of the Upfront podcast, or Upfront portion of the podcast this week. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get right to it.
Okay.
So a lot of companies, and especially in our industry, have summer Friday hours between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Many companies will close down early, sometimes like at noon, sometimes at 3 o'clock. And they do this to give a little bit of summer back to their employees. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, both as it relates to the overall health of an organization, from employee happiness and satisfaction, but also to the customers who now have to kind of plan for the company I work with is going to be closed at, let's say, noon. Let's use noon as the example. So half a day on Fridays. What do you think about that? I've got thoughts if you want me to go first.
No, actually, we got real world stuff happening at our place. This is a conversation we're having. So I think that it's fine. I think it's totally fine as long as it's really, really well communicated. Um, so I remember my wife when she first got into sales, like she took Fridays off because she
Yeah.
had over the summer, we had kids and all that sort of thing. So what we've actually recently implemented is summer hours that go from, instead of from 9 to 5, we go 9 to 4. Now our
Hmm.
team is working 8 to 4, but and
Yeah.
you know me, but I'm not sure everybody else does. I'm super flexible. So like if somebody needs to
Right.
work late or work early or work, I don't care. Um,
Right.
but what we wanted to do though is to communicate that to our people, to our clients. And the other thing I would also say is it depends on the organization. So like at Hasseman Marketing, for the most part, like nobody comes to our office like at 5 o'clock on a Friday anyway, right? But Simple Signs, which also operates inside of our organization, inside of our business, it's much more retail. It's much more direct to consumer. So we had to be cognizant. It's probably one of the reasons we're still open till 4 and not earlier than that, if that makes sense. So for me, I think it does make sense. I think one of the drivers, Bill, is that I want to leave sometimes at 4:30, 4:45 because I want to go
Sure.
golf or I want to do this or I want to do that. And I looked around and was like, well, the rest of the team's going to want that as well. So I think it's a
Yeah.
great idea to motivate the team as long as the work still gets done. And then I also think that from a consumer perspective, there might be individual situations where it's a challenge, but I think for the most part, if you are communicating it really well, I think you're fine. And then side note, if it's a really great customer and you have to stay late or you have to go deliver something, or if you just do that, right? Like to take care of the customer. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, no, great thoughts. I think you're absolutely foolish as an employer if you don't do something like this.
Mm,
And I'm going to tell you why.
okay.
Number one, a lot of people take vacations over the summer, so
Yeah.
generally, the periods of time you need to work are fluctuate quite a bit because people, your client base is out of town. I think it's such a nice thing to give back. Our whole society is completely out of whack. We as a society, can I say society in a weirder way? Don't think so. As a society, we seem to live to work as
Mm,
opposed to working to live. Now, I love what I do, and I,
mm.
I, I absolutely love coming to work every day. We've talked about this on the podcast. I don't dread Mondays. I look forward to them. I think you do as well.
Yeah, I do.
But I also look forward to my Fridays because I try to have an F off Friday
Hmm.
just about every week. I don't take meetings on Fridays unless I absolutely have to. Now, if I have to for a client, like you mentioned, 100%, I'm there. But generally speaking, I don't have meetings on
You're
Friday.
intentional.
And I also want to be done by noon every Friday because I work really hard for four and
Mm,
a half days. And I want to be done around noon on Friday because it helps
mm,
my mental health. It recharges my batteries so that when Sunday, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock comes around, I'm not going, ugh, got to go to work tomorrow, as
right.
opposed to now I'm excited to go to work. And I think what you're seeing here, I think this trend is actually going to increase. I foresee a future in the very near term where a 4.5 day work week is really acceptable,
Mm,
is really kind of the norm where most businesses shut down around noonish on Fridays. Now, you said something very important. Absolutely, it depends on the role of the person in the
right.
organization. Customer service, I'm sorry, this doesn't apply to you.
Right.
It just doesn't. Management, it probably does apply to, though. You
Mm,
will,
yeah.
you might have to stay, you might not, but it's gonna fluctuate.
Right.
So, I do think, I would love to get to the 4-day work week. I do think that's a realistic, thing, but I think starting I think you should start with the 4.5 day work week for most people, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, and see how people handle it. The more freedom you give people, generally, the better things go.
Yeah. And I think also you mentioned the different roles. I think the other piece is different kinds of businesses.
Mhm.
So, obviously
100%.
Hossman marketing is B2B, right?
Right.
B2C is a little bit like
Totally
the Simple
different.
Signs is tough.
Totally
And then
different.
like our, Hossman properties where we are dealing with
Mm.
people on weekends. I mean, that's when it's busy. And so
Right.
it just depends on the thing. And so, but I think from a business to business, and I think that's what you're kind of leaning toward. I,
100%.
dude, I'm super intrigued by it. I totally
The
makes
other
sense.
th The other thing is we talk about technology and there's it giveth and it taketh away. Here's where it
Right.
giveth. You can take out off on a Friday. I generally am done working by usually it's about 1 or 2 on the afternoon on a Friday. But if something comes up, I have a portable Google machine with me so I can react to that if I need to. It's not like
Totally.
I'm completely out of touch and incommunicado. So I
Hmm.
think you factor that in as well. All right, Kirby. I think you know our pals over at Promo Pulse asked ChatGPT to write a 4-line little poem about their testimonials. Last week we had Gary V come in and read. Unfortunately, I couldn't get our other guest, who was Will Smith, to AI work properly today, so I'm
Mm.
going to go ahead and do it. From TikTok to emails, bright. Amp shines in the digital light. Kara finds the younger crowd. Greg sparks conversations loud.
Mm.
Christine's orders close in hours while Becky quotes on featured powers. Amp's touch, so effortless. Promo Pulse's success, we confess. You want to see the testimonials where that was derived from? Head over to promopulse.io/testimonials. Kirby, do you have a topic for us? I know you do. I know you do. Kirby, I know you do. Kirby, do you have a topic for us that you'd like to talk about right now?
Yeah, I think this will be light. I just thought I saw this. It's a Wall Street Journal article, and I thought it was interesting. And I wanted sort of to get your take. So the article highlights the concept of quote big screen purchases, which describes how people make large purchases strictly on a computer because they want to have a second window open or generally create a little bit more friction in the buying process to avoid making a mistake. So, in other
Hmm.
words, if you're it sort of started with what's the most expensive thing you've ever bought on your phone? Because they're essentially saying, look,
Right.
when you're buying milk or something on Amazon, sure, you're buying that on your phone, but then, oh gosh, if I'm buying a car or if I'm buying a home or if I'm buying a big screen TV, whatever, the bigger the purchase, the more people tend to want a bigger screen.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but I'm so fascinated by it, and so I wanted to get your take on this.
I think my first take is, who the hell is buying milk on Amazon? That may be the weirdest purchase or
Really?
analogous. Why would you buy milk on Amazon?
I don't know. I don't buy any of that shit online. I'm just Instacart, whatever it is, right? Like I go to the grocery store.
I'm sorry. You sent me into complete deep hypnosis here with that. Anyway, no, I do think there is something to this. I will make what I would call everyday purchases,
Like milk?
batteries, non-milk products, non-dairy products, but things like batteries or refill for like hair gel or shampoo, things like that. Because I know what it is, I'll buy it on my phone, right? It's
Yeah.
very easy. It's a product I can easily buy somewhere else. With something like a television, with something that has like a suitcase, we just bought some suitcases because we're going to be going on a
Mm,
trip soon.
okay.
Um, I do want the dual screens. I want to look at
Bigger
many
pictures.
options. I want to start comparing. Yeah, I want bigger pictures. I want to look at reviews. They're easier to read if I have 2 screens going on. So I totally think this makes sense. Now, what the threshold is, that probably differs from human to human and purchase to purchase. I mean, if I'm looking at, like, here's an example. If I'm on Amazon and I'm looking at regular whole milk versus chocolate milk, I'm definitely wanting 2 screens for that because it's a potentially very confusing purchase for me
Right?
anyway.
Right.
Well, for that, yeah. I mean, then you
It's the
have,
first time
what
you've
am I
ever
going to
bought
do?
milk online, so that's why.
Right, right. I mean, I want to understand how it's going to be shipped so it doesn't spoil on en
Yeah.
route. It is exquisitely complicated. If I'm buying a car, though, totally doing it on my phone.
Okay. All right. So you have bought car online.
I
So
have.
did you do that online or on the big screen?
I did that on the big screen. I
Yeah.
100%. I mean, that was
Yeah.
something. Again, I think the more complex the purchase and the more variants you could
Mhm.
possibly have, I think that's where you want the big screen. To me, it comes to options, right?
Yeah.
Buying luggage, no one ever gets excited about buying luggage. You're excited about the trip, but I'm not excited
Mhm.
about securing
Yeah.
my valuables to go on said trip.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to without touching and feeling, it's very difficult to really feel like what that's like. Same thing with the car. If I'm buying granola bars, I've had them before. It's a pretty wash, rinse, repeat purchase. So I
Yeah.
think for me, that's the difference.
To go with the milk. Yeah. So I thought it was interesting that they said, they want friction in the buying process to avoid making a mistake. Now, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
I actually don't like, I think it's more about, no, I want to to be able to see more details. I want to compare and contrast. I understand what they're saying. I don't think that anybody is thinking, well, I want to make this harder. I think they're thinking, no, I want to dive deeper and make sure I'm more educated because I'm spending a substantial amount of money. So go ahead.
Yeah. I think what they want is I just want to feel
Yeah.
whatever I'm buying, whenever I'm buying it, however I choose to buy it, I want to feel good about the purchase.
Right.
So there's things I feel good about just clicking and going and going. There's things I want to look at. I want an hour to figure out. Apparel's a great one, right? Apparel's a
Mhm.
really tough one because a large may vary
Oh yeah.
in actual size across 5 different brands. And
Yeah,
so
it
I
does.
want to see the reviews where people say, hey, this large feels like an extra large, or it feels like a medium or whatever. I want
Yeah.
that type of. So I think
Yeah.
when you have those options, again, we all just want to feel good about what we're
Mhm.
purchasing, in my opinion.
Yeah, so for me, it's funny. I think it's and now I will say I'm the old guy in the room on this. I like my laptop on everything. Like I'd
Yeah.
rather send you an email from there. I'd rather look at social media through there. I totally understand I am the outlier on that. But my deal is I like to shop on my phone and buy on my laptop. Like if
I
like you know what I
understand. And
mean?
I
Yeah. So
I
like
do
if
quite a
we
bit of
look,
that.
I'll look at houses, I'll look at
Yeah.
really expensive things and look through on my phone. But then when it's like,
Sure.
hey, let's really look at it, I want to go to a bigger screen. And so that's but I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, you're talking about browsing versus purchasing because I'll
Right.
do the same thing. Like for luggage, I will look on my phone, but I'll stick it in my Amazon cart and probably just like everybody else, I have like $4,000 sitting in my Amazon cart that I'm never going to buy, but I have the options in there. So now I can get on my big screen and I can look at it and then delete the ones I don't want to use. So I think we're
Yeah.
saying the same thing, just in a different way to waste time on this podcast personally.
Well, I will say
All
that
right.
I would like to hear from
Yeah.
the audience on this. What's the most expensive thing you've ever bought on your phone? I think
On
that's a
my
really interesting
phone.
conversation.
I
So,
think the most expensive thing I bought on my phone, just quick glance, was another phone, buying
mm,
another phone.
that's a good one. That's really good.
That's quick because I just yeah. Just,
Yeah,
cool. All
ironically, I
right,
think mine's
Kirby.
probably laptop.
I don't think I've done that. I've done that. I'm not but purchased a phone on a laptop on my phone or computer on
Yeah.
my phone. All right, Kirby. Hey, are you familiar with the soft drink brand Pepsi?
Yeah, yeah, no, number one drink, yeah, for sure.
No, actually, well, they for years they were number two, and they've
I
officially
read
been
the headline.
eclipsed as the number two soft drink by Dr. Pepper. I don't know if you saw this or not.
I saw the headline, but I'm like, okay, this
Yeah.
is just proof. People were talking about the idea that the political parties and the division in our country and all that sort of thing are the reason the world's going to hell. The idea that this many people like Dr. Pepper is actually the reason. That is atrocious. That's the worst drink out
Okay, well, Kirby's already solved this topic for us. You got another topic for us?
there.
Apparently you got it all down. You're done. You got it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Coke is still number one, but Dr. Pepper is now number two. In Kirby's mind, he really thinks it's number two.
Yeah, agreed.
Coke has 19.2% of the market share.
Mhm.
Dr. Pepper has 8.3. Pepsi has 8.2 in a recent, however they measure this out. Now, what's interesting is right behind Pepsi are two Coke products, Sprite with 8.1%
Mm,
and Diet Coke with 7.8%. Now, the success has been attributed to experimentation with new flavors from Dr. Pepper. Last year, they
I
introduced
agree with that.
strawberries and cream. I tried it. Way too sweet. I didn't like it at all. And then this year, it's a limited edition called Creamy Coconut, which is absolutely fantastic, especially if
Okay.
you pair it with a coconut rum. It's actually in lime. It's actually quite delightful. Pepsi has continued focus on other brands. I think a lot of people forget Pepsi is really PepsiCo. They own
Mhm,
Frito-Lay, they own Quaker Oats. They have a lot of other brands they have to deal with where Dr.
mhm,
Pepper, pretty focused on beverages. And then the last is Pepsi's main beverage focus is actually zero sugar. They are leading with that zero sugar
mm.
line of products. So that's why they think maybe those three reasons. Kirby, I want to know what your thoughts are. I have some thoughts as to why this is actually the case, but I didn't know if you did based on the successful attributes I just mentioned moments ago.
So I love your idea about the experimentation within the brand of the different flavors. I think that makes a ton of sense. I mean, you're seeing that with beer, you're seeing that with spirits, all that sort of thing. I actually think that this is a marketing conversation. I think that
Yeah,
Dr. Pepper has just done again, if you like Dr. Pepper, that's great. I just don't like it. But
right.
they're what's the college? This is their marketing campaign during football season, where
Mhm.
it is the get yourself a Dr. Pepper, and they got Brian Bosworth, and they got all
Oh,
these people.
it's just the Dr. Pepper
Fansville,
commercial.
Fansville,
Yeah, Fansville. Yeah.
Fansville. Those are brilliant. Those are
Yep.
like that is to me content marketing in, at scale. And they've
Yep.
they've tied in current events with the transfer portal and the
Yep.
quarterback going out the end, but you can't give him your Dr. Pepper, whatever.
Mhm.
I think those have really played. It's marketing done right. It's become top
Yeah.
of mind. They're tying it to the most popular sport in the, well, college might be number two, but you understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
It's like they have done, I think, an incredible job. Whereas Pepsi is kind of like big splash and then nothing, at least from my perspective. So I think that's one of the reasons that they're top of mind and growing.
Yeah, this is an opportunity for me to slam Pepsi the beverage, but I'm not going to do it, Kirby.
Okay.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to slam Pepsi the marketing. I think for decades they have struggled with their identity.
Mhm.
They've had some great marketing campaigns. That's not to
Right.
say that they
Right.
haven't, but it's not consistent. It
Right.
hasn't been consistent. You look at Coca-Cola. Yeah, they kind of are the proletariat, and they're the expected, and they're the wise
Yeah.
old sages of the beverage industry. But their marketing is not only memorable, but it's consistently memorable. Pepsi had the Pepsi generation, and they have a couple, the try the hidden taste test and all that stuff. They've had some good things, but they
That's
always
been
seem to be.
years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're always chasing their tail. They've changed their brand several times in terms of the look. They've gone back and forth. It reminds me very much of McDonald's and Burger King. Burger King is always struggling with really who they are because they can't be number one for whatever reason, right? Instead of being, we're going to be the best second choice we can be. I think they've struggled. Whereas Dr. Pepper has done such a great job of, again, all these main soft drinks date back to the 1890s in
Mhm.
terms of their formulation. Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, and Coca-Cola.
Mhm.
I think what Dr. Pepper has done is really kept their foot steeped in tradition. They have their main flavor, but they're going to evolve too.
Mhm.
Coca-Cola's done the same thing. They've done very cool things in the recent years with these mystery flavors. I haven't found one that I liked, to be very candid with you,
Well, you purchased a
but I
bunch of
think
them.
but it's interesting that
Yeah.
they're doing that and they're trying these
Mhm.
micro beverage flavors. I think that's brilliant. So I think it just shows how important it is to evolve while keeping your tradition
Mhm.
alive.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a fascinating case study in branding
Yeah, I think
because
so too.
honestly, I'm sorry.
I said I think so too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's
I,
okay.
uh, I'm trying to think of the last time. Again, I prefer Pepsi. So take it again. I
Yeah,
don't like I like
right.
beer better than I like any of them.
Sure.
So, but the I'm trying to think of the last time I remember a Pepsi ad. Like, was it Michael
Exactly.
Jackson? I
Yeah,
mean, you think about
probably.
like a big like campaign brand. You talked about the
Yeah.
Pepsi challenge. Okay, cool. That was a long time ago. Like it's been a long time since I remember one that I go, oh, that was fun. And
100%. Yeah,
yeah,
no,
so
100%. I totally agree. It's just again very, very, very interesting in terms of that. So
okay.
that's my last topic for today. Do you have a quick one, or are we done?
Let's do a quick one. I've got one
Okay,
that's mainly because it's a little bit timely.
sure.
So I don't know if you've seen this, but more and a specific, I really wanted to hear from you on this because I mean, we both love music, but you're my guy about live music and
Yeah,
all that stuff. So I don't know if you've seen how many folks this has happened. More and more musicians are canceling their tours, their
yeah.
summer concert tours. Let's see, you got J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez,
Yep.
Bad Bunny, the Black Keys. These are just a few of the folks who have shut down like big summer tours.
Yeah.
And people are showing screenshots of mostly unbought seats. And it's like a bunch of them have just kind of flaked out on shows. I have some thoughts about what's kind of happening here, but I'm curious to know what you think and why do you think this is happening?
Yeah, no, great topics. I think we've hit the tipping point.
Yeah.
For years, musicians made the vast majority of their money with album sales and music publishing. You still get quite a bit of money from music publishing,
Yep.
but album sales and in song plays, that's not really the strongest revenue stream now. The
Mhm.
strongest revenue stream is concert ticket sales and merch sales. That's
Yeah.
how people make their money now. or musicians anyway.
Hmm.
And so, I saw J-Lo's announcement where she said she wanted to spend more time with her family and all that. And here's the thing. I'm sure that's partially true, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
the bigger thing is she wasn't selling out like she wanted to, like she expected to.
Right.
And two couple things on this. One, I just think the cost is so ridiculous for
Yep.
some of these larger acts. Now
Yep.
you can always find last minute seats. I mean, you can see the Stones probably tonight in the Seattle Megadome or whatever the hell it is, probably for $20. Last minute seats, get in the arena. But if it's your band and you want to see them, it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Then you have $80 for parking. Then you've got $14 to $20 for a beer. It gets to a point where it's cost prohibitive. So I think we're seeing that tipping point where people are like, that's okay. I'm good not seeing it. And then especially when you factor in, it comes out so often. It makes headlines now when bands play live.
Yeah.
We so much of
Yeah.
it is pre-recorded,
Yeah.
especially for, I think, someone like a J-Lo who does a lot of dancing. I can't imagine how difficult it is to sing and move like
Mhm.
that. And
Yeah,
for
it's
a
crazy.
53, 54-year-old woman, she looks phenomenal. So I'm not knocking on her, but the way her shows are, there's a lot of movement. I don't know how you can sing and not be out of breath. So a lot of it's
Mhm.
pre-recorded. Or
Sure.
so it would seem. I don't want to pay to listen to an album.
Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
sorry, I don't. So I just think we've hit a tipping point where you've priced out not only the common man, but most people, period. And I think what's really interesting, I think sports is happening the same way. So what I think you're going to see is a lot of these acts start playing smaller venues, not Bridgestone Arena down here in downtown Nashville, but maybe the Ryman Auditorium with 2,500 seats, which I think is a better experience anyway. So I that's what I think, Kirby.
Yeah, I think what you said is right. So the couple things that pop in my head that might be a little bit different is, so COVID. I feel like at the end of COVID, people were so hungry for live
Yeah,
music,
sure.
for interaction, that there was
For
like,
anything.
we're in YOLO,
Yeah.
like, and I think that started to wear off after
Yeah.
Taylor Swift and Beyonce and all those tours. Is like, okay, let's take a break on this. We've spent all that money that you were talking about, and it was great, whatever. But I don't need to
Yeah.
do it again.
Right.
And so I think that's part of it. Number two, I think, where do you buy tickets? I think,
Yeah. Ticketmaster. Yeah.
and
Oh,
and
yeah.
they have
The ticket
created,
prices.
well, and they're a part of the cost, right? But
Oh, gosh, yes.
it's also, man, you talk about the worst PR in the country right now. I
Sure.
remember you giving speeches and talking about throwing the Comcast logo up on the screen
Oh,
and
yeah.
everybody groans. Right now, that's
Yeah.
Ticketmaster. Like, they're
Oh,
worse
yeah.
than
Yeah.
Comcast. There are, I
Yeah.
mean, people are suing them. It's just terrible. I think that's had an effect. And so I
1,000%.
so kind of to your point, I like what I'm in my mind's like, oh, I still want to see live music, but I want to see it in smaller venues. I want to support local acts. And so
Yeah.
that's where my head's at. So I just thought it was interesting.
No, it is. And, we talk a lot about how things like that impact. But if you really want to make an impact with custom made merchandise, I got to tell you, there's only one place to go. And that's our good pal, Russ Mogel and Seven Sourcing. They completely demystify that overseas custom sourcing process. That's right. They're going to work with each distributor on brand strategy, product development, product sourcing, order management, quality control, compliance, and logistics. They're going to demystify custom order sourcing, overseas sourcing for you. And they're going to give you an opportunity to take a great idea and turn it into something truly iconic. So when you're ready to do that for your clients, go ahead and email them at sales@sevensourcing.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. Kirby, I look forward to talking to you exactly 1 week from today.